Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary and Ronald Records and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Trix.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, I'm Trix. I'm from Medford, Oregon, down in the South. And I'm a pop singer-songwriter. And yeah, I started making music, singing and actually dropping music when I was 18. So I'm 22 now.
Okay.
4 years.
And so that was your first moment with music, or did you do anything when you were younger, guitar lessons or anything like that?
So, yeah, I self-taught myself the piano in 5th grade, and then I did band, played the flute for about a year, and then I switched over to the alto saxophone, and then played that for I believe 4 years.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So you've kind of been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I self-taught myself the guitar as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm like a prodigy in my family, they like to say, but not I don't know. Yeah.
No, totally. And did you have a piano in your house, or did somebody get you one? How did you get your hands on one that young?
At school. So we had one, it was an elementary school, and in music class they would bring in how sometimes they'd bring in recorders and keyboards.
Oh, I'm very aware.
Well, one time they brought in the keyboards, and that I got hooked. I just really liked it. It was kind of like an escape, and it was something that I found a lot of joy just going to, especially during as a kid, you don't really realize, but you kind of gravitate towards certain things that are soothing to you, and that was definitely one of it for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And you said you picked up the guitar at 18?
No, picked up the guitar I think middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was always kind of there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Kind of sort of. Yeah. I kind of just always had an inkling towards it in a sense, just always going after what I didn't know what exactly was my niche. My niche, is that the word?
Yeah.
I didn't know what my niche was, but I definitely knew it was something in the realm of making music or being a part of the creation of music in some aspects. So yeah.
Hell yeah. And it sounds like, you jumped around to so many instruments. I imagine you kind of learned a lot of the range in music and how the parts work independently.
That is the most valuable thing that I've ever learned. And I preach about it all the time. It's just the music theory that I learned just by because the flute, for instance, is a higher melody. That's what, as a singer, that's what I would be singing. So what a flute would be playing. And then the alto saxophone, which is what I also played, is a midline kind of harmony. So and then you have the bass. So you kind of learn it all while you're in band. So you kind of learn all the different parts in general. But yeah, it definitely taught me where to hit certain things, or what you should try to strive for in those areas, for sure.
Yeah, no, very much so. It's hard to be hey, people in their 20s go back and do high school band, but it's definitely a very, very invaluable experience.
The most valuable thing, especially right now, I wouldn't go back in time and change anything differently about it, just because it did teach me so much of what I do now. And I think, yeah, again, super valuable, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People like to hate on the band nerds, but here we are.
Look at them now.
Yeah, period.
Oh, yeah. Before we get into more of what you're doing in the current day, we have a couple of questions we check in with everybody on. And this first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Look at me in the eyes. Nirvana in Bloom to rep Portland, but also being so for real. In Bloom, it was my 11th birthday. I asked specifically for that album, and that was the first album in my life that I ever wanted. Like,
damn.
Like really, I was so like head set on it. And actually, off topic, sorry, but I actually got a tattoo in reference to a song called Polly on that album, actually.
Oh, yeah. Was that your first tattoo?
No, it wasn't.
Ah, damn, that would have been
it is one on
chronological experience right there.
No, for real. But no, it's one on my back. It's wings, because like one of the lines is like, "Let me clip your angel wings."
Okay.
Song. So I got some wings on my back.
Yeah, so it's clearly been a pretty important experience. What made you want that one? That
specific tattoo, or
the album?
Oh, specifically probably just because like that song in general was just like super deep for me. I mean, I'm sure you know the like story behind Polly. Have you heard of it?
I'm not the biggest Nirvana person, unfortunately.
So yeah, I mean, like he made a song called "Rape Me," essentially, and Polly was the song before "Rape Me," and it was like nobody really got it because it was like the perspective of the person being a perpetrator. It's a really deep like lore. Highly recommend you look it up. But yeah, I mean, I'll get pretty raw. Like I was, sexually abused as a kid. So that song to me was like, especially that line about the clipping your wings. It was like me kind of like giving it back to myself and like not letting it overpower me for my whole life.
Gosh.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like definitely a great album for sure. In general, album overall, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But good too.
And then what was the first live show you ever went to? That was like one you wanted to go to. So like you saw it was happening, you got tickets, you went to it.
My first concert ever, and it's actually the only concert I've been to, which is such a shocker, was the Suicide Boys.
Okay.
Friday 22.
Okay. A few people that have been on the show have been to that same concert.
Really?
Somebody go back and figure out which are all the episodes and let's get a reunion view experience.
Dude, that concert was so awesome. Ski Mask was there. He was phenomenal. Like, I would love to see Ski Mask in concert for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good concert.
I could imagine. And then before we get into more of what you're doing with music in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Oh, for sure. It's like... Yeah. So yeah, I forgot to say this, but I actually started like writing my own raps. It's so funny, but yeah, I started off actually like writing raps.
Hey, me too.
I'm kidding. I was like, hell yeah. So I mean, yeah, when I met Syntax, I actually went over there and I went to rap on a beat, and it was whatever. I'll be so for real, like I didn't even like go in there with the hopes of like, oh, I'm gonna be this artist or whatever. Like it was not like that. It was more of just like going in there to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like so many people do that and then find out, holy shit, like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very universal experience for a lot of people. But yeah, that moment, for instance, like I didn't like the raps, obviously. And I asked him, I was like, hey, like, do you mind like recording this cover of me? And I actually covered a song by Claro. It's called Forever. Have you heard of it?
I haven't. Oh, no.
Super good. She's like indie bedroom pop. So really cool like artist. I really like her a lot. I respect her a lot as an artist. Like she's very much an individual, like doesn't really go the label route, like very independent. And I totally love that.
I'm definitely going to check her out. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's cool. That sounds like a pretty solid moment. And I feel like that was probably where you like found your sound a lot as well.
I mean, for sure. Yeah. I made my first song that day too with him. And it was like, I remember he asked me, he was like, what do you want your name to be? And I said Trixlah. And like, that's really like how Trixlah was made. It was just like that day. Trixlah has always been like a thing from like my past, but But yeah, it was a crazy defining moment. And like, again, like I feel like I really started to like take it super, super seriously when I dropped my first song, which was Death to Me, which was, I feel like a good little like dipping my toes in for a first song.
Yeah, very much so. Well, normally this is where I'd say, let's move on into you in the present day. And the first question I ask is, how did you pick the name? But it sounds like you already gave us that answer.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's kind of like a little bit more of a lore to it. One of my best friends, actually, her name's Summer. Shout out Summer.
Shout out Summer.
She created Trixlah, like the actual Trixlah. I think like even if you Google it, it's like the only thing that comes up. And I think there's one girl in the entire world that has the same thing. And I found her account. Not to be a stalker, but like I was curious. Like one day I like Googled it. I was like, who the...
Well, you have to. You have to Google whenever you come up with an artist name. The first thing you do is Google it.
Yeah, you have to make sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, she like in middle school, she had this really cool Instagram tag. And I was like, you should make me a really cool Instagram tag too. Like, you know, and she just created Trixlah. And I had it for that all throughout middle school until my freshman year of high school. And then I changed it because people were calling me. They were like, oh, I thought your name was Trixie. And I just didn't like it because I wasn't doing anything like to have an alter ego, you know? So now I'm like, Trixlah it is. You know, it fits me. It's got like that backstory, that lore.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Does it like specifically mean anything? It just sounded clever and she was like, this is it, trust me.
Straight up, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I dig that.
Yeah.
Now you have to make it mean something and then get it into the dictionary and solidify it forever.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, that can all happen in time.
I'll have to think about that.
Oh yeah. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process.
Yeah.
And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Honestly, pull up a beat instrumental. And then at first, I really just kind of like hum a melody. And then whatever really sticks, I really try to like, I don't go for the first melody that I hear either. I think that's one thing that I try to like get clever with it. Like if something sounds good, like, you know, but I want to try to work it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to just like be so comfortable with it that it's like, okay. Because I feel like that's something I kind of struggle with currently in music is like I feel bored, you know, like I feel bored of my own sound and I want to feel entertained by my sound, you know? So that's something that I personally like try to strive for sure. But finding that melody is like the key point. And then the inspiration behind everything, I would say, is like stories that you hear from friends, family, your own experiences for sure. I mean, I feel like a lot of my stuff is kind of personal, but we won't get into that.
I mean, that I think is an important part in music.
Absolutely.
Like,
you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the scary part. Is like I feel like nobody really like talks about is like it is very vulnerable. And as somebody like me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very shy person. So like letting people in is a really like hard thing for me to do.
You know, I get that a lot. Like, you know, a lot of people talk about that, how they're like, it's hard for me to, I think a fun way to look at it is not you are letting people in, you are letting yourself out.
That's true.
That's really what it is, because you are not saying, hey, people, look at me as I'm doing this. You're creating something and then sending it out into the world, and people can take it a million ways. That's, you know, like the whole Dr. Seuss book. They're like, what was the meaning behind it? He's like, it's a book about, you know, one fish and two fish.
No,
like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a, you know, multiple colored fish. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But like, I think people interpret their own meanings, but the big part of being vulnerable, the big part about being so like emotionally honest in your music is that that's where people relate.
Yeah.
Like people can sense when there's like a fakeness in music, when there's this like attempt at buzzwords.
Yeah.
But like when something resonates in the center, that's when people are like, I feel this. Like I like this has meaning to me. And I know that she has to mean it as well.
Yeah, facts.
So that's, you know, that I think is the most important part. Like you can't be too vulnerable in music, because creating vulnerability is what attaches people to it.
That is true. Yeah, absolutely.
But that was me tangenting. I am so sorry. Let's get back to talking about you.
No, it's
and once you get a track finished writing, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable to the point where you feel like you could perform it?
I mean, I just had my first show with the Flow Show.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which was...
Shout out Flow Show.
Yeah, shout out Flow Show. That was awesome. Super fun. Great experience. I felt the love there. It was awesome. Everybody that like was there was great, which was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like, again, like, just because I don't have like a lot of experience in that, I don't really like have a lot to really like say on that question per se. But
well, I mean, more just like, how long does it take you to feel like comfortable where you like can perform? So like be able to like recite it back. How long does it take you to learn it?
I mean, probably like honestly not that long. I feel like once I finish a song, I could like I know it by heart after that. Like you know, because a lot of my like music is like I don't really like just sit down and like write a whole like sometimes I do write. Like I'll be honest, but like I've also gotten to the habit of like again when I'm hearing a beat, I kind of just like freestyle melodies and then like I freestyle lyrics. So a lot of it's just like I kind of go with whatever I'm feeling in the moment, and I kind of just you know, feel the vibe, you know? Yeah. And I really try to, another thing is like, I really try to dive deep into like what the beat is making me feel. So like if a beat is sounding like in a minor key, like, you know, it's gonna be a little bit sad, you know, but you could have happy lyrics or like incorporate happy things, but like the tone essentially is gonna give off, you know, rather than,
it changes from like happy to more like maybe determined or like somewhat paradoxical. Like it rearranges the like tonality to a degree, but the intent can still be there.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's like there's a lot that you like taking into consideration for sure. But yeah.
Hell yeah. And then you know, checking out some of your music. I was listening to you got a handful of music going back to 2021 over on SoundCloud and Spotify and things like that. But your most recent track, Toxins, featuring Syntax. Syntax.
Shout out
wherever he is. It's really cool. It's a good track. Like it's really smooth. It's really catchy. The production in it is strong. And y'all are locked in. Like also shout out for him being featured on every track. I think that's a lot of fun as well. But like it kind of had this like this interesting feel to it that I noticed was very musical. And so like now having heard your background a little bit, I'm like, there is a layer of music in this music.
Okay.
And so it stands out very much. And I mean, you know, your sound in general is dialed, like anything for you is super chill and almost like islandy, which I really liked. And Death to Me and your Dear God cover, they were like mostly guitar based, but like, that was like, it was kind of a cool duality because you have, you know, this mix of more electronic sound, this mix of a more organic sound. But I do this bit where I have to pick out like a track that I enjoy, like you know, my personal pick. And you were kind enough to sneak peek me on a new track called Limbo. And I really like it.
Really?
It's definitely my favorite one so far. Can I say a little bit about it? Am I gonna? Okay, I didn't want to ruin the surprise.
Not at all.
So first of all, I love the bass in the. I am a bass player by origin, and it felt very like wholesome. It felt very like inviting, and again, different from the other stuff. Not to say it was better or worse, but it was different. So I was like, oh, I'm immediately engaged in this because I want to hear where it goes next.
Yeah.
And it's funky, it's dancey, and you're just vibing the whole time. I said this off camera. I'm a big Chromeo fan, and it definitely kind of gave me that energy. I really like that sound, but it also, and I know I mentioned this person as well off camera, it gave me very big Sabrina Carpenter vibes, and that just like, and I really like her sound. As I said before, like it's really got this like cool energy to it. My only thing is I wish it was longer.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Yes. But no, like it's a really cool track. It's really exciting. Y'all, when it comes out, you're going to love it. But I am curious to know, what is your favorite track to perform?
So funny because I actually did perform Limbo at the Flow Show.
Oh,
I wanted to get the vibe.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to know if this is a hit because I'll be honest, I've made that song over a year ago.
Okay.
I've been sitting on it for so long just because I didn't feel like I was doing it right. Felt like something was off. I'm missing something. Like I'm my biggest critique. Like, and I'm sure everybody that makes any form of art feels that way, honestly.
Yeah. Trust me, I feel ya.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, my favorite, I feel like to perform, I also did this one that I didn't send over, but I will maybe next time. But
okay,
it's called Killer Queen, which is like very rock-esque. So I feel like you would honestly probably would have fucked with it. I probably should have sent it.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure it's a good track.
You would have really liked it. It's definitely more of like rock-esque. And I feel like when I performed that one at the Flow Show, that one I feel like got a really good response compared to Limbo, you know, and that was the first one. But I mean, like, people were feeling Killer Queen. Like,
now, was Killer Queen the last track, or did you? Okay, so that's actually a really interesting progression. Like starting with the like very dancey track and then ending with like a more like, I imagine, like heavy S. That's.
It was planned.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like that's a smart way to organize to get everybody comfortable and settled in, and then as it progresses,
I did not
builds to that.
Yeah, I did not want to just pop out and just like do what I'm like, because like Killer Queen is definitely out of my way different than like anything I've ever made. Like, because like I did the like I would say like indie alternative with like Death to Me, and then the like kind of electric alternative with the Toxins. Limbo's pop, very pop. This one's like alternative, like alternative rock for sure. And so it's definitely something I have never even like done in a song before, but it just I executed it so well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I love that song so much, but I don't think I'll ever post it.
Everybody add her in the comments if you want her to post it. Let's see what we can get. But that's cool. I mean, I guess if it stays a live song forever, people just have to go see you do it live.
Exactly. It could be a gift. Yeah, it could be a gift to the audience, you know?
You know, I think there's something, it's a lost art to have live only songs. Like as soon as something has like this moment, people think they have to like put it out and create it. But like to have that thing where you're like, no, you can only hear that here. That's only for the people in the room.
Straight up, though.
Yeah.
Straight up, yeah. No, I just feel like it's one of those, like, again, where it's just, like, it's not done yet. And I feel like I have to hit that point where it's, like, fully done. Like, Limbo at this point, I feel like is done.
It's a really good track. I am super excited for it to, like, officially be out. I think people are really going to like it. But like I said, that is, like, my sound preference right there. So you nailed it with that one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So thank you for making it.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have other new music that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, more kind of down the alternative route. So less of the poppy stuff. I'm really trying to get, I don't know if you've heard like, I want to get into like, I don't know if you've heard Artemis. Actually,
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's the type of shit I want to get into, is like that grungy, like kind of dance still, like, kind of has that hint of pop, but like electronic pop. Like, I'm really trying to devour that sound.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely like a sound that's like moving in a direction at the moment. It hasn't quite reached the front of everything, but it's kind of in the background of everything at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be swinging forward at some point. So definitely jumping on that now is a solid move.
Yeah, straight up.
And that segues well into the next question. We're gonna zoom out a little bit. We're gonna kind of look at music as a whole.
All right.
What are some of the things about either new music that's like happening now, or at least new to you music that you're finding like enjoyment and inspiration from?
God. So that, I'm not gonna lie, like just like that. The grungy, like dancey, like I don't know if you've heard, like, is it like Crystal Crime or Crime Wave is a band? Oh,
that name sounds familiar.
It's like totally electronic-y. You would probably fuck with it too.
Oh yeah.
But it's really like kind of down that realm of just like super grunge. Like that's the stuff that I feel like is so interesting. At least to me, I find like the most joy listening to, because it's like, I don't know, I just want to like bop my head and like dance to it. And like that Artemis, artist, like again, he kind of just like embodies kind of like what I kind of like, the kind of road I want to go down for sure, music wise, I would say. But yeah.
Hell yeah. I dig that for sure.
Yeah.
This is not actually connected to any of those, but I never get to plug an obscure artist like this. You should check out somebody named Igloo Ghost.
Igloo.
Yeah, it's all one word. I think it's all lowercase, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Igloo Ghost is kind of like on the further end of like abstract in the realm of like electronic. And they just have this bite to them that I think you would be able to kind of take some inspiration from. So maybe not move that direction, but there's something in there. Check out Igloo Ghost. Their most recent album is actually probably one of their most like tame things. So I'd say start with that and then go backwards to anything else, and you could be like, the fuck is this? But it's an experience. I think you could take something from it.
Okay, hell yeah.
Getting back into it.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, please. But before we move on to the next part, which is all hypothetical questions, this next one's probably the densest question in the interview. But we've talked a lot about, your experiences with music, the actions, the reactions, things like that. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Well, I'll be honest, like my songs are so personal that like when I'm making music, I don't even really like be thinking of like other people except for myself. If that might sound selfish.
No, I mean, music starts as a creation for yourself.
But I mean, yeah, like I guess like my biggest thing is like I want to be heard, like, you know, and like I think I have a perspective, and because I am a quiet person. Like when you first like meet me, I feel like, but I have a lot of stuff to say. I have a lot of stuff on my mind, and I feel like my music is really like an inside scoop to people that don't get to see that side of me, you know, for an instance. So it is a lot for like me, and getting a lot of like stuff off my chest, maybe like experiences that my, you know, friends have had that like maybe are weighing heavy on me, like, you know, but it's also a lot of my own feelings too. I would say more so of my writing is mainly my own experiences. But
Gotcha.
yeah.
Sounds like a lot of like self-expression.
Yeah, exactly. Self-expression. Yeah, it's literally like a diary. Like,
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
But now let's go ahead and let's move on to some hypothetical questions.
Hell yeah.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Gotcha.
But this first one is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Nessa Barrett. And I feel
Okay.
like I would want to, she did that, I don't know, you know, that Dear God cover? It's her song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would love to collab with her. I think she's super talented. I think her vibe too, she's like kind of embodies the same kind of like, I feel like Toxins, for instance. I feel like she could have been on that.
Yeah.
You know, Syntax 8, I'm not saying anything about Syntax, but if he wasn't there, she would have ate.
Ah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel
Sounds like a remix is coming up soon.
oh God, Nessa Barrett.
Everybody add her in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, period.
Hell yeah. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
You know, I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Alana Rich. And she has great music I've checked out. And I know she was at, I said hey to her at the Flow show, but like not enough to like really connect. Again, I'm super shy and low-key a little standoffish, I feel like at first. But again, like once you get to know me, I'm an open book. So it's like I get very comfortable quickly, but it takes me a second.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I totally feel that. Well,
Yeah.
I've already said to do this a bunch, but this is the part where we actually say, everybody, add her in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it's guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Amsterdam. I heard they get down.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard a thing or two about the Stadam.
I feel like they would get so lit. Like, you know, like that they just seem like they just want to party.
Yeah.
So like why not perform for people that just want to get hype?
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Also, I feel like your sound would work there well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hope so. That's a dream.
Yeah. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
That's tough because there's a few. We've lost a lot of great people, especially I feel like within these past few years. X's album 17. Have you heard that one? That was something that hit me really hard, and I think I would love to have another one from him.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think he would have still just came. I feel like he would have never stopped. Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like we would still be getting so much. So I feel like I would love, yeah. Solid answer.
Oh yeah. No, that's a great answer. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Hell yeah.
What can we look forward to between now and January?
Definitely Limbo will be out by then.
Nice.
Hopefully, I'm not sure when this episode airs, but definitely will be out hopefully before the summer ends because I want it to be a summer bop.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, surprise y'all,
Hopefully
we're
soon.
releasing it right now.
And then hopefully a project too, because like I have been working on some of like that alternative stuff. Hopefully that can come out during winter.
Okay.
Shooting for.
Yeah, good time for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that's kind of like the goal for right now. But other than that, trying to pop out to some shows maybe. I'll keep you guys. Y'all stay tuned.
Oh, yeah.
Follow me on the socials.
yeah.
Trixlah on everything.
Actually, why don't we go ahead and this is the part where I have you look at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Find me on all platforms under Trixlah and Trixlah. and TikTok, SoundCloud, everything. Everything.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
Shout out Syntax for being, the person who taught me everything. And then shout out Summer for creating Trixlah.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out you too.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Hell yeah.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question.
Dun dun dun.
And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know. And you've already dropped some pretty solid names on this episode, so I'm kind of excited to see what this answer is.
Wait, repeat the question one more time.
So, deep cut album, one that not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think that it just hits.
God, it's so hard. I mean, there's so many. Again, that. So many people know of 17. That's the one that comes to my mind immediately, but that's one that a lot of people know about. I
always recommend either one that you listen to growing up, or one that just that nobody was ever really turned on to, and you're just I don't get why.
Honestly, I feel like there's a lot. Tech 9. I feel have you heard of them?
I'm very familiar with Tech 9.
I had 4 older brothers, and they always bumped to Tech 9, and I feel what, that's kind of a guilty pleasure kind of
okay
of mine.
I'll say early Tech 9 for sure. I don't think it's the appreciation nowadays. He's done so many things that everybody's kind of more focused on. I could still do the entirety of This Ring from memory.
Yeah.
The whole track from start to finish.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Angelic album gets a lot of attention nowadays because it's shadowed by a lot of the later stuff.
Yeah.
But I could definitely agree. Tech 9's catalog is also so extensive.
Or actually, you know what? I could also, because you said album specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mr. Morale by Kendrick Lamar was pretty. That had a crazy concept to it.
Yeah.
Going through a lot. There was one song where he's literally cussing out a girl, and they're conversating, fighting back and forth, over a beat.
Yeah.
But it was the story behind it is the idea of being in that situation and feeling the emotion. Music is about emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And he just embodied all of that in that entire album. And I think it's super underrated. That album when it first dropped did not get a lot of streams.
Kendrick's music always has a kind of an interesting presence because it takes a time to adjust to it.
You have to digest it.
Yeah, and it's never like the one before it.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you're in it, you're like, no, I'm so used to this.
Yeah.
And now you're giving me this. Mm-hmm. What am I gonna do with this?
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, but it was his growing. It felt like a growing up album, where he was putting a lot of stuff to the side. He, he had his hits. He's no doubt.
Yeah.
He's Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody at this point.
Not at all. It's more just that, the trials and tribulations of what he's been through in that album, I feel like. And but more on the on a side that we didn't see in other albums.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no. There's also this fan theory that each of his albums are presented as a different approach of media. So one is more like a movie, one is more like an album, one is more they're all slightly different experiences based off of the theme and the appearance.
Yeah.
But that's just a fan theory.
Yeah.
But no, that is a solid one as well.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Totally. Hell yeah.
But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Trixlah.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.